Let me begin with a scene that probably feels very familiar to you. You wake up, reach for your phone, and start scrolling. Messages come in. Emails wait for replies. Tasks appear one after another. You move from one thing to the next, studying, working, answering, planning, reacting. At the end of the day, you may feel busy, maybe even exhausted, but a quiet question remains. What did I truly choose today? So much of modern life feels like motion, but motion is not the same as direction. We act constantly, yet we rarely stop to ask what is guiding those actions. This leads us to an important and slightly uncomfortable question. Are we really choosing what we do, or are we simply reacting to what happens around us? Many of our daily behaviors are responses. A notification appears, and we check it. Someone speaks sharply, and we reply emotionally. A deadline approaches, and we rush. These actions feel natural, almost automatic, as if they just happen. But when actions are driven mainly by external triggers, we are not fully directing our lives. We are being directed by circumstances. Activity fills our time, but awareness is often missing. This is where the idea of deliberateness enters. Deliberateness is not about doing more, working harder, or moving faster. It is about something much deeper and more powerful: choosing consciously. A deliberate action is not accidental. It does not come from habit alone, pressure alone, or emotion alone. It comes from a moment of awareness, even a small one, where you recognize that you have options. You pause, even briefly, and you decide rather than simply continue a pattern. The outside action may look the same, but the inner process is different. So here is the key idea for today. The difference between an ordinary action and a deliberate one is not visible speed, effort, or complexity. The difference is intention, awareness, and purpose. When you act deliberately, you know why you are acting. You are mentally present in the moment, and your behavior is connected to a direction you have chosen, not just to the situation in front of you. Understanding this difference is the first step toward changing how we learn, work, communicate, and live. What is deliberateness? Let us now build a clear and solid understanding of what deliberateness really means. When we use this word, we are not describing a personality type or a special talent that only some people have. We are describing a quality of mind that can be present or absent in any action. Two people can do the same task, say the same words, or make the same decision. Yet one may be acting deliberately, while the other is simply moving through habit. The visible behavior may look similar, but the inner process is completely different. To understand this inner difference, we need to look at the core elements that create deliberateness. The first element is intention. Intention means knowing why you are doing something. It connects your action to a reason or a purpose. Without intention, actions often happen because it's just what I do, or it felt natural at the moment. With intention, there is clarity. For example, you might study English for 1 hour. If you are acting without intention, you simply open a book or a video because you feel you should study. But with intention, you begin with a reason. Perhaps you want to improve your pronunciation, prepare for a test, or understand native speakers better. The action is the same, studying, but intention gives it direction. It transforms activity into meaningful progress. The second element is awareness. Awareness means being mentally present in what you are doing instead of operating on autopilot. Much of human behavior runs automatically. We eat while thinking about something else. We listen without really hearing. We speak while barely noticing our own words. When awareness is low, actions happen, but the mind is somewhere else. Deliberateness requires waking up inside the moment. You notice what you are doing as you are doing it. You observe your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. Awareness is what allows you to see your own behavior clearly, instead of being carried by it unconsciously. The third element is choice. Choice means recognizing that you could act differently. This is a powerful shift. When people say, "I had no choice," it often means they did not see alternatives, not that alternatives did not exist. Deliberateness grows when you understand that between a situation and your reaction, there is space. In that space, there is the possibility of choosing your response. Someone criticizes you. You could react with anger, silence, curiosity, or calm explanation. Feeling tired. You could scroll on your phone, rest briefly, or still do a small important task. Deliberate action begins when you realize you are not only a reactor to events, but also a decision maker. The fourth element is attention. Attention is where your mental energy goes. Even if you have intention, awareness, and choice, your actions will not be deliberate if your focus is scattered. Attention means directing your mind on purpose instead of letting it drift from one distraction to another. When attention is directed, you are fully engaged with the task, the conversation, or the thought in front of you. When attention is uncontrolled, you move physically through life, but mentally you are jumping everywhere. Deliberateness requires gathered attention, because focused attention strengthens intention, supports awareness, and helps you see your choices more clearly. When these elements come together, we can understand deliberateness more precisely. Deliberateness is the conscious direction of behavior. It is not random movement, not automatic reaction, and not action driven only by habit or emotion. It is behavior guided by a mind that is present, clear about purpose, aware of alternatives, and focused. The important thing to understand is that deliberateness is not the action itself. The same action, speaking, studying, deciding, working, can be deliberate or not. Deliberateness is the mental quality behind the action. It lives in the way the mind engages with what it is doing. And once we see this clearly, we begin to realize that deliberateness is something we can practice, strengthen, and bring into more areas of our lives. What deliberateness is not. Correcting misconceptions. Before we go further, it is very important to clear away some common misunderstandings. When people first hear the word deliberateness, they often imagine something heavy, slow, or overly serious. These images can make the idea seem impractical or even exhausting. But deliberateness is not about making life harder. It is about making action clearer and more intelligent. To truly use this concept in daily life, we need to understand not only what it is, but also what it is not. First, deliberateness is not the same as being slow. Many people think that to be deliberate means to move carefully in a physical sense, to take a long time before doing anything. But speed and deliberateness are different dimensions. A person can act very quickly and still be deliberate if their mind is clear. For example, an experienced doctor in an emergency may make fast decisions. Yet those decisions come from training, awareness, and a clear sense of purpose. The action is rapid, but it is not random. On the other hand, someone can move slowly and still be undeliberate if they are confused, distracted, or simply following habit. Deliberateness is about mental clarity, not physical speed. Second, deliberateness is not perfectionism. Perfectionism is often driven by fear. Fear of mistakes, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. It can lead to stress, delay, and dissatisfaction. Because the person is always chasing an impossible standard. Deliberateness is different. A deliberate person is not trying to make every action flawless. Instead, they are trying to make their actions aligned with their intention and values. Mistakes can still happen, and that is accepted as part of learning. The goal is not to eliminate every error, but to reduce careless, unconscious ones. Deliberateness supports progress, not pressure. Third, deliberateness does not mean overthinking every small decision. If we tried to analyze every tiny action, every step, every word, every choice, we would quickly become mentally exhausted. Human life depends partly on habits and automatic processes. Deliberateness does not remove these. It guides the important moments. It becomes most useful at decision points that shape outcomes, such as how you respond in a conflict, how you use your study time, or how you prioritize your work. It is about being thoughtful where it matters, not turning life into a constant mental debate. Healthy deliberateness simplifies decisions by clarifying what truly deserves attention. Fourth, deliberateness is not rigidity or a lack of spontaneity. Some people fear that if they become more deliberate, they will lose their natural energy or creativity. But spontaneity and deliberateness can exist together. A musician improvising on stage can be spontaneous and deliberate at the same time. Their actions are not planned in detail, yet they are guided by awareness, skill, and intention. Rigidity means being stuck in one way of acting. Deliberateness, in contrast, increases flexibility because you are aware of options. You are not trapped by impulse. You can choose freely. It is also important to understand that a deliberate person can act quickly. The key is clarity, not slowness. When your mind is clear about what matters, decisions become easier, not harder. You do not waste time on unnecessary doubt because your direction is already defined. This clarity allows for confident action. Instead of hesitating again and again, you move forward with understanding. Finally, deliberateness does not create constant hesitation. Instead, it leads to fewer unconscious mistakes. When actions come only from impulse or distraction, we often say things we regret, waste time on unimportant tasks, or move away from our goals without noticing. Deliberateness reduces these errors by bringing awareness into behavior. It replaces mindless reaction with thoughtful response. Rather than slowing life down, it helps us move through life with greater accuracy and less inner conflict. Automatic versus deliberate behavior. To understand deliberateness more deeply, we need to place it next to its opposite, automatic or reactive behavior. This contrast is powerful because it reveals how much of our daily life runs without conscious direction. Human beings are designed to form habits. Habits save mental energy and allow us to function efficiently. But when habit becomes the main driver of behavior, we often lose the sense that we are choosing our actions. Life begins to feel like a series of reactions rather than a path we are actively shaping. Automatic behavior is usually habit-driven, while deliberate behavior is choice-driven. When something is habit-driven, it happens because it has happened many times before. The mind follows a familiar pattern without questioning it. For example, you open your phone the moment you feel bored, not because you decided it is important, but because the action has become automatic. In contrast, a choice-driven action includes a moment of recognition. I could do several things right now, and I am selecting this one. Even if the action is small, the presence of choice gives it direction. Automatic behavior is also often emotion-led, whereas deliberate behavior is value-led. Emotions are natural and important, but they can change quickly. When behavior follows emotion alone, we might act differently every hour depending on how we feel. If we are tired, we avoid effort. If we are angry, we speak sharply. If we are excited, we overcommit. Deliberate behavior does not ignore emotions, but it places them next to values. Values are more stable. They represent what truly matters to us, such as growth, respect, honesty, or health. When actions are value-led, they are more consistent and meaningful, even when emotions fluctuate. Another contrast is that automatic behavior is often impulsive, while deliberate behavior is reflective. Impulsive actions happen quickly and without examination. There is little or no pause between feeling and acting. Reflective behavior includes a brief mental step back. This reflection does not need to be long, but it is enough to ask, "Is this the best response?" That small reflection can change the direction of a situation. It can prevent words that cause harm or decisions that lead to regret. Automatic patterns also tend to favor short-term comfort, while deliberate actions support long-term purpose. The automatic mind often chooses what feels easy or pleasant in the moment, scrolling instead of studying, avoiding a difficult conversation, delaying important work. These choices bring temporary relief, but may create problems later. Deliberate action considers the future. It asks, "What will help me grow?" Or, "What outcome do I want in the long run?" This perspective connects present behavior with future results. Because automatic behavior happens so often, people frequently describe their actions by saying, "It just happened." This phrase shows a lack of ownership. Events feel like something that occurred to them, not something they directed. In contrast, deliberate behavior allows a different sentence. "I chose this." Even when the result is not perfect, there is a sense of responsibility and awareness. This shift from "it happened" to "I chose" is central to personal development. Most daily behavior, in fact, is automatic. We check our phones without thinking, almost as a reflex. We say yes to requests without pausing to consider our time and energy. We sit down to study but have no clear goal, so we move through material without deep focus. In conversations, we react emotionally to tone or words, rather than listening carefully and responding thoughtfully. These patterns are common because they require less mental effort in the moment. However, they also reduce our sense of control and direction. Deliberateness interrupts this autopilot mode. It introduces a pause, sometimes only a second, that brings awareness back into the process. In that pause, we notice the habit, the emotion, or the impulse. We see that we have options. That moment of noticing creates space for a different response. Over time, these small interruptions change how we live. Instead of being carried by automatic patterns, we begin to guide our actions with intention, awareness, and purpose. Why deliberateness matters in learning. Let us now bring this idea into a context that is especially important for you as advanced English learners. Learning itself. Many people spend years studying a language, a skill, or a subject, yet their progress feels slow. They are not lazy. They put in time and effort. But the results do not always match the energy they invest. Very often, the missing element is not motivation, but deliberateness. Learning improves not only when we work hard, but when we work with clear intention, awareness, and direction. One of the clearest contrasts is between passive studying and targeted learning. Passive studying happens when a person goes through materials without a specific aim. They read pages, watch lessons, or complete exercises simply because it is study time. Their attention moves, but their purpose is unclear. Targeted learning, on the other hand, begins with a question or a goal. For example, instead of saying, "I will study English for an hour," a deliberate learner might say, "Today I will focus on using more natural linking phrases in speaking." Or, "I want to understand how conditionals are used in real conversations." This intention shapes how they study, what they notice, and how they evaluate their progress. The same hour of study becomes more powerful because it is guided. Listening provides another strong example. Many learners listen to English podcasts, videos, or conversations regularly. This is helpful, but if listening is unfocused, improvement may be slow. It becomes background exposure rather than active development. Deliberate listening adds a goal. You might listen for pronunciation patterns, noticing how sounds connect, or you may focus on new vocabulary and expressions, writing them down and using them later. Perhaps you pay attention to sentence structure, observing how native speakers organize their ideas. The audio is the same, but your mind is working differently. Listening changes from a general activity into a structured learning process. Practice exercises also show the difference between automatic and deliberate learning. Some learners repeat exercises again and again, believing that repetition alone guarantees improvement. Repetition is useful, but only if it includes reflection. Deliberate learners analyze their mistakes. They ask, "Why did I make this error? What rule or pattern did I misunderstand? How can I avoid this next time?" This analysis turns mistakes into teachers. Without reflection, errors may simply repeat. With deliberateness, each mistake becomes information that guides future performance. The deeper reason deliberateness matters in learning is that the brain does not grow only through effort. It grows through corrected effort. If we practice something incorrectly or without awareness, we may strengthen the wrong patterns. Deliberate practice ensures that attention is placed on improvement points. It keeps learning aligned with goals rather than leaving it to chance. This leads to a key principle. Effort without direction leads to slow growth, but deliberate practice leads to improvement. Direction acts like a map. Effort is the energy that moves you forward, but without a map, you may walk in circles. Deliberateness provides that map. It helps you decide what deserves focus, what needs correction, and what skills are most important at your current level. Over time, this approach does more than improve performance. It builds confidence, because you can see clearly how and why you are progressing. Deliberateness at work and in productivity. Deliberateness becomes especially powerful when we look at work and productivity. In many professional environments, people are constantly active. Emails arrive, meetings fill the calendar, tasks appear one after another. At the end of the day, it is common to feel tired and busy, yet strangely unsure about what was truly accomplished. This happens because activity and effectiveness are not the same. Deliberateness is what connects effort to meaningful results. A useful starting point is the difference between being busy and working with intention. Being busy means your time is full. You move quickly from one task to another, responding to whatever demands your attention. However, when work is guided only by urgency or external pressure, you may complete many small tasks while important goals remain untouched. Working with intention is different. Before acting, you have clarity about what matters most. You understand which tasks contribute to long-term objectives and which are simply noise. Intention acts as a filter, helping you decide not only what to do, but also what not to do. In this way, deliberateness protects your time and energy. Another common contrast is between multitasking and focused attention. Multitasking often feels productive because many things happen at once. You answer messages during meetings, switch between documents, and check notifications while working. But attention is limited. When it is divided, the quality of work usually decreases, and mistakes become more likely. Deliberate productivity values focused attention. It involves choosing one meaningful task and giving it full mental presence for a period of time. This depth of focus often leads to better results in less time, because the mind is not constantly restarting and adjusting to new contexts. We also see a difference between reacting to tasks and choosing priorities. In reactive work, the day is controlled by what appears first or makes the most noise. The inbox becomes the to-do list. Other people's requests determine your schedule. While some reactivity is necessary, constant reaction removes a sense of direction. Deliberateness introduces priority. You identify the tasks that truly move your work forward and give them protected time. Instead of asking, "What is shouting for my attention?" you ask, "What is most important right now?" This shift turns work from a series of responses into a sequence of intentional choices. These changes matter because deliberateness improves decision-making. When your mind is clear about goals and values, decisions become less random and less emotional. You can evaluate options based on relevance and impact rather than pressure or habit. Better decisions, repeated daily, shape stronger outcomes over time. Small, deliberate choices accumulate into significant professional growth.